Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. We are super excited to present the Tastyworks web class for navigation traders. You know, for those of you who have been trading for any time at all, you know that Tastyworks has kind of taken the trading industry by storm, not only with their innovative technology, but with their crazy low commission rates. And so before I introduce our special guest, I just want to go over a quick disclosure. Make sure you understand Tastyworks is a self-directed brokerage account. They don't give financial or tax advice. You as a customer are solely responsible for your investments and trading decisions. Options are not suitable for all investors. They do carry risk. Make sure you read the characteristics and risks of standardized options. And Tastyworks and Navigation Financial are separate, unaffiliated companies. We're not responsible for each other's services and products. Now that we got that out of the way, let us introduce our special guest. So Ryan Grace is part of the Tasty Trade's on-air talent team, hosts the Ryan and Beef Show on Tasty Trade Monday through Friday. He works on a number of initiatives within Tasty Trade, but you may have heard his voice doing the tutorials and different things for Tastyworks, so he knows the platform inside and out. So welcome, Ryan. Give us a little glimpse into your daily activities at Tasty Trade and fill in some of those gaps.
Hey, Steve. Well, thanks for having me, and thank you, everyone, for having me on the webinar here today. Like Steve said, I work with our development team here at Tasty Trade and Tastyworks, so I kind of head up our product management and have a lot of input into what the different platforms look like. It's a lot of fun for me. I always equate it to, if you're able to, if you like playing video games, you get to design the video game. I like to trade. We get to design a lot of the technology that we use. So it's a lot of fun. For me, I'm actively trading for the most part every day. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that, as well as have some input into the process. I usually aggregate a lot of the feedback, coordinate a lot of things with our development team, make sure that when we're doing a 2-week development iteration, the features and the bug fixes that we need to take care of, make it out into the platform, and then work with the various other parts of the company, such as the marketing team and Tom and all the other on-air talent to make sure that everything is going in the right direction, or we're getting to where we want to be in terms of technology for the company. So that's a little bit of my role on the product management side, and then I also get to have a lot of fun on air. Tom gives me half an hour each day to do a show called the Ryan and Beef Show, where we get to take a look at what's going on in the market. We show everybody how to use the platform. We talk a lot about different option strategies, opportunities we might see, present some research every now and then. So we have a lot of fun creating content and also building technology for trading. So that's my role here at Tasty Trade and Tastyworks.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. So we had Tom on co-hosted a webinar with us in December. And so he gave us a little demo, a little bit of an overview of the Tastyworks platform. We spent some time, just talking about his career and his philosophy and stuff like that. So didn't spend as much time directly on the platform.
Okay.
And now with the new release of the Analyze tab, something that we as navigation traders, I know, have been waiting for, and we're really excited to hear more about that. So if you want to jump in, take us through a demo of the platform, and then let's end with the Analyze tab and show us kind of the power of that and how that can help us in our trading.
Okay, perfect. So we'll jump in here. We'll get started. And what we're looking at is the Tastyworks desktop platform. We have a couple different versions of software. We have a web-based platform, a couple mobile apps, but this is really where we spend most of our efforts on the Tastyworks desktop platform. It's our fastest platform. It has the most features. So this is what I'm spending most of my time on each day. But to take a step back, I'll first give you an overview of kind of the philosophy that went into the design of the platform. You'll notice that it looks a lot like many of the other platforms that are out there. You have 3 different sections really that it's broken down into. So we have this left side panel where my cursor is above this watch list right now. We have what I'll call our kind of main workspace, this center panel here. And then we have this right sidebar as well. And you can customize some of the information, or you can jump to different tabs. So you'll notice that we have kind of a quote details section here. We can see some information about a position that we already have on in QQQ. And then we can see an activity section as well. But the idea behind the platform is that whatever symbol you're working in, that information translates across all different sections, or all 3 of these different sections here within the software. So right now, if we look at the queues, I have a position on in the queues. So if I were to click on the queues in the watch list, it would populate this here at the top. We have some information about it. But over here on the right-hand side, it would also show me that I do have that position. We have a diagonal call spread here. And if I had been trading in QQQ today, I would see my activity. And I can also just quickly jump back, whether it's 30 days or 14 days, whenever I first put that trade on here. And that information for those filled orders and anything else I've done will pop up in there. So I don't have to jump to the specific activity tab, even though we have these different pages. Everything is displayed for you all at once, so you don't constantly have to go back and forth between your positions, the trade page, your activity. Did I get filled? Where am I with that order? Everything is right there in front of you. And you'll notice that as I click on these different symbols, it's going to change the information that's displayed. So I've clicked on Apple. It's highlighting Apple on the left-hand side. We have information about the symbol at the top. If I jump over to the trade page, I don't have to re-enter that symbol. Here's our option chain. So we already have the option chain and all the different expirations for Apple. If I go over to a chart, I have, as it loads here, I'll have a chart of Apple, so I don't have to re-enter that symbol. So we make it really easy to see all of the relevant information and make it very quick to set up trades without having to go back and forth between different pages and enter in that symbol each time. And you'll see, here's what I was talking about with the activity. So I've got all of my previous activity in Apple. I don't currently have a position. But if I did and I was looking at this, or maybe I was just looking at a different chart, if I wanted to, I could quickly just jump in here and make a trade in this symbol. So that's the philosophy of the design. And now I'm going to go over each one of the different pages or tabs that we have in the platform. And I'll start with the positions view, which is going to be your portfolio, where you view whether or not you're up or down on a trade, and you can close your position from here. So I think it's pretty straightforward. In terms of what we're looking at, we have the symbol that we have the position on in. So these are grouped right now. If you click on any one of the rows for that particular symbol, it's going to open up the symbol grouping, and we can see what those positions are. So in Tesla, for example, you can see we have a strangle, we have a short call, and we have a vertical put spread, the 250, 235 put spread here. And so I can see those individual legs as well as some information about each one of those. I can also see that information here at that grouping level as well. So we can see the trade price that we bought or sold each one of these options at. We can see the current mark, where it is in the market, and that's going to be the mid price between the bid-ask spread. And then we can see the P&L as a result. So wherever we sold it or we bought it at, relative to where it's currently trading, we're going to be up and down on the trade in general. And then we can see where the P&L on the day is. So for Tesla here today with a relatively bearish position, it was a position that had a pretty good day. In addition to that, we have, and this is just how I've set up my page. You can customize this, but in addition to this, we've got the Greeks. We've got Delta, Gamma, Theta, and Vega for each one of these positions. And then, again, as you open it up, you can see that for each one of those options or those legs that make up your strategy. If there's anything that you'd like to see that isn't displayed, there's a settings button up here. Looks like a gear. If you click on that, this is where you'll be able to customize the view for the positions tab. And this is also the same way that it works for watch lists or any of the other pages within the platform. But from here, you can choose which items you'd like to display and which items are not currently displayed. And if there's something that's not displayed that you'd like to display, it's very easy to do that. You just click on it, and it's going to send it over there to the displayed column. And if you click on it a second time, it'll remove it. So as you do that, really easy to customize this. You can drag and drop, and that's going to change the order in which these are displayed. But if you click on it, you can remove it and click on it a second time over here in the not displayed section, and that will add it back to your portfolio. So we'll click OK and close out of there. You can see some information about the symbol as well. So if we look up here, we'll see that Tesla was down $12.13 today to a last price of $330.93. What I get asked about all the time that we're working on right now is, well, how come these positions aren't grouped? Can you group positions? And so it's not very intuitive when you look at it like this. I understand that. We have a pretty robust feature coming that'll automatically group the positions based on how you entered the order. It'll give you the ability to custom group them, and you'll be able to see that information a lot better, because I know everybody wants to say, well, what did I sell the Iron Condor at, or what did I buy the call spread at? and then where is that trading in the market. I want to be able to look at that independently instead of having to write it down or go back and do the math in my head. So I know it's not that intuitive looking at it right now. We do have that feature coming soon, and that's going to be called our order chains. But this is what's displayed at the moment, and this is also where you're going to close or take an action with your portfolio. You don't have to go to the trade page. You don't have to then set up an opposite order. All you need to do if you want to close a position, let's say we want to take a profit in this short 350 call in May, just click on it. That'll focus on the row. You can see that it's highlighted in gray. And then once you do that, you just need to right click, and that'll open up a menu where you have a couple different choices here. Clicking on close position will take you to the trade page. This is where you can adjust your price and then route that closing order. But if we jump back, you'll see that there's a couple other options as well. And we have the ability to close the position at a percentage of our max profit. So this is really more for just selling options. It's kind of the bread and butter, or at least what we talk about primarily on the Tasty Trade Network. What this lets someone do then is, if you have a defined amount of money that you can make when you sell an option, this is going to set up a good till cancel order to close it at a percentage of that max profit. You don't have to do the math in your head. It'll set it up automatically. So just to simplify it, let's just say if we sold something for $1, I decide to close it at 50% of its max potential profit of $1. It's going to set up a GTC order to buy it back at 50 cents and effectively realize a profit of 50% of the max potential there. So that's what that feature does. Quick roll is going to set up a rolling order in the very next expiration. Most of the time that's going to be a weekly expiration, or you can highlight roll, and this will show you as you go further out in time what the difference is in those prices are. Should you roll to the next month, or should you roll to 3 months from the current date, whatever it might be. It'll show you right there, so you don't have to go in and compare and change the expirations and decide, is this better? Is that better? Am I being compensated more for doing this? You can see everything right in there. And then we'll get to the analysis in a little bit, but clicking on the analysis will send this over to the analyze page here, analyze mode, and allow you to do a deeper dive into that closing position or the entire thing that you have on in your portfolio. So I'm going to close off of this and go back to the positions tab.
Hey, Ryan.
Yes.
Before you jump ahead, I want to go back to one thing you said, because I think it's really, really powerful, and I don't want to gloss over it, and that is what you mentioned about what you guys are going to be putting out at some time in the future, and that's the order chain.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit more about that, because I get questions all the time about, okay, I had this iron condor or I had this strangle, I've rolled and adjusted several times, and I'm trying to keep track of where I'm at from a profitability standpoint. Tell us a little bit more about that option chain, because I think that's going to be such a powerful tool and such a huge differentiator.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk more about that. I do too, in terms of looking at this as something that could potentially be a game changer, or at least a nice feature, because I don't see it really anywhere else at the moment. And I know the frustration everybody has with, well, what's my basis on this position, or really am I up or down after a series of actions that I've taken? I've rolled this a few times. Where am I? So what order chains is going to do, and this existed to a degree. It wasn't as robust as it will be due to some of the limitations we had, but this existed in our previous web platform called Doe. And what it's going to do is intelligently connect all of your trading activity. And at times, certainly the computer won't be perfect, so you'll be able to customize certain things. But ideally, let's say you roll a position. Instead of only viewing the P&L open for the current position like you can in most platforms and in Tastyworks right now, this will show you where you are given all the actions that you've taken. This will show you your basis after a series of rolls. So then you'll be able to manage the position, and not when you are up on the new position, but when you're up on the entire thing, you'll then know, okay, I made the roll and now I can finally get out of this. I averted disaster, turn a losing trade into a winner, whatever it might be. The other thing that I would think of, off the top of my head that it would be beneficial for, let's say you buy a stock, you sell a call against it to reduce your basis, to get a little bit of income, increase the yield, whatever. As you do that, maybe the call expires, you sell another one the next month, and through this process, you effectively reduce the basis, or the trade price cost of your stock from, we'll say, maybe it was $50 and maybe now it's down to $47. Most platforms, ours currently as well, are only going to show you that you bought the stock at 50, no matter what you sold against it to overall, reduce that cost. This will show you what that basis is, and then you can make decisions based on that.
Excellent. One other question that we're seeing in the chat, Ryan, is there anywhere on the screen that shows the P&L of your portfolio for the day?
Yes.
It shows it by symbol, but does it show it added up?
It does, and I just, anywhere where you see these little arrows that are pointing down or would be pointing up, left or right, that indicates that you can expand or collapse that section. So I just moved some things around to give us some more viewing space, but I'll click on this here. And this is going to show you all of that portfolio information. So we can talk about that for a second. And what I have going on right now is there are 4 accounts that are connected to this login that I have. And so right now we're displaying 2 of those 4 accounts. You can adjust all of these things within the settings. The other 2 accounts that I have here don't have any capital in them. So we're only looking at the 2 that do. And you'll see both of those accounts. So all accounts that are connected to your username or any accounts that you have an LTA on, you can see them all right here at once and look at those different rows and see how that account is performing, how this other account is performing, and so on. Or you can just drill down into each one of them. So if I click on the first one, you'll see that any of those orange circles and those positions in this account just below, they all went away. Now I'm only viewing the purple account 05014. And you'll also notice that there's this little icon that's highlighted. That's indicating to me that that's the current trading account. So if I go and set up a trade, that's the account that the position is going to be added to. If I double click on this orange account, you can see I've now changed the active trading account. This is the one that the positions are going to be added to. And you can also make the change to the account for the trade on the trade page. But if you click on both of these, it's going to display everything. If you click off of them, it'll display everything. You'll see that these symbols have the same circle. So they're coordinated here, color coordinated, and I know which account the position is in. You'll also notice that SPXY and Tesla have multiple circles next to them. That indicates that I have a position in those symbols in both of my accounts or many of my accounts. And when I click on the row, you can see I have one position in the 05011 account, and the rest of the positions are in the 05014 account. So it's very easy to get a sense of what's going on across all of your accounts that are connected together. And you can see, some details as well. Your beta weighted deltas. So we're going to beta weight against the SPY, essentially your directional risk relative to the market. We have the theta decay because we focus on options. So we have the theta value here for the accounts, simply just how much we could make here if one day passes in time. Nothing else changes, even though nothing else changing is very unlikely. We have the net liquidating value of the account, which is just, again, like in any other platform, signaling what would the value be should we close out of all the existing positions. And then here are those 2 key metrics that everybody focuses on. What's my P&L on the day, and then as a result, where am I year to date with these accounts since January 1st? And to the right of that as well, we have the available option buying power and stock buying power, so you can see relative to the net lick of the account using quite a bit of the available capital. So that's where you would see that, and I had it collapsed initially. If you click on this, it'll expand it, and you'll see that that's true for any of these different arrows in here. If I click on them, we're going to open up those various sections. So that's the portfolio kind of overview here.
And the delta component, Ryan, that you mentioned that's beta weighted to SPY. So, on the old platform that we won't mention names of, you would choose what you want to beta weight it to, but within this platform, it's automatically beta weighted to SPY, right? So you don't have to mess with it.
Right now, by default, it's beta weighted to the SPY. It's been a popular request to beta weight to other symbols. We have that built on the back end. We just have to add a front end or user interface to do that within the settings. So that's something that it should be very easy for us to add. Maybe it's fallen through the cracks here. We haven't added it yet. But by default, it is going to just beta weight to the SPY.
Very good.
Does anyone have any more questions on the positions tab here?
One of the questions was just on timing of that order chain feature. Any idea when that'll come out?
We've got our team, our head developer, at least on the head platform developer, is working on it now. So I would say hopefully within the next 3 months, just really depending on how many issues he runs into or what kind of struggles he has. We have a limited team in terms of what everybody's specialty is. So we have about 2 people that are more of the kind of Java developers for the front end here with the platform. And my guess is it'll take them maybe anywhere from 2 to 3 months to finish from where they are here.
Okay.
But maybe sooner than later. I would certainly like to see it sooner. So that is the, I guess one last thing I want to just quickly mention. There are filters here at the top. They're all turned on. They don't look that pretty. We have some fixes coming to these as well. But if they're highlighted in black, it means that they're showing that particular type of position. So if we had some stocks, which I think we have an ETF here, SVXY, if I click off of that, it'll remove the long shares, and it'll leave us only with, we'll take off our closed positions on the day, it'll leave us only with a short call that we have against 100 of those shares. So these will allow you to remove anything. Now we're only looking at futures, remove our working orders, or if I want to view everything and not group it by symbol, just clicking on these will filter the display or change the display. But that's the positions tab, which is going to be your portfolio tab like in most platforms. Now I want to jump over to the trade page and talk about the various ways that we can set up and analyze our trades. So as I mentioned before, anything that you click on will add that symbol at the top and give you some relevant data as well. You can also type in anything you want. So let's say that we wanted to go from Apple to Tesla. Just type in TSLA, and there's a little bit of a delay with my my screen here, so just a second as it starts to respond. We'll get that typed in there. I don't know if our internet's a little slow or what's going on. Oops. So Tesla, hit enter. So just like with most platforms, you can search for a symbol, or you can just click on a symbol. We can click on Apple again. And once you do that, it's going to load the option chain. There's a couple different views that we have, or different modes we like to call them for trading. So we have your traditional option chain, which is going to be our table mode. We have this visual way to set up trades that we call the curve, and I'll talk about that in a little bit here. We also have an active trader, and this is going to be what's somewhat equivalent to a ladder or a dome in some other platforms. This is more conducive, I would say, to futures trading or actively trading equities, not so much options. And then we have this analysis mode, which is an overlay on top of the curve tab or curve page here. But let's start with the table and just go through how easy it is to quickly set up some trades if this wasn't something that Tom covered in detail, because this is one of the things that where it's not necessarily a feature as it exists in all the other platforms, but I think we've made it really, really easy to quickly set up trades and view some of that relevant information when you're trying to decide on a particular strategy. So you have your basic information here. We have our option expiration. So the expiry date is right here on the left-hand side. In the middle here, you can see the number of days until that date. So with today being the 1st, we've got 15 days to go until the 16th. And then we can see a VIX-style implied volatility calculation for that expiration as well over here on the right. If I click on any of these, if we were to click on the row for March 16th, it's going to open up the option chain. Right now, we're only viewing 8 strikes for the puts and the calls. But if I go and select all, you'll see that that opens it up quite a bit, and it looks very similar to how it's displayed in a lot of other platforms. Now, here's how easy it is to set up trades and make adjustments to your strategies. What you'll find is there's a number of different ways to do the same thing within the platform. This is how I like to set up trades. Any bid price that you click on is going to let you sell the option, and then any ask that you click on, if you click on the offer, it'll let you buy the option. So very quickly, with 2 clicks, we have a short vertical put spread, so selling a put spread here. If I click on it again and drag and drop, I can change the strikes very quickly. So if I want to widen this out from 5 points to 7.5, can move this to the 162 half strike, can move this further out of the money, and it's very easy to just quickly drag and drop. You can also drag across the strike bar. We could change this from a short put spread to a short call spread just by grabbing these different option icons and sliding them over to the other side where the calls are. So that's how easy it is to set up trades, to make quick adjustments. You'll also see some buttons at the bottom here, so this will allow you to adjust your strikes as well. If I click on those, it'll move me either up or down the strike bar. We can widen out the width of the spread or tighten the spread. We can increase the quantity of contracts we're buying or selling. So these probably should be plus or minus, but as we click left or right, you can see that clicking to the right starting to increase the number of contracts, and clicking to the left, I'm decreasing the contracts, and you'll notice that that number is changing down here within our order ticket. So if I click on that again, we'll get back to a one lot. Then we can also quickly jump to another expiration. Let's say we want to go out here in time and we want to jump into April. So now we're into the April 20th expiration, 50 days to go. So it's very easy to quickly jump back and forth through this process just by clicking the buttons. Clicking on swap will just change the action you're taking with these options. So we're selling the 180 right now, we're buying the 185. If I click on swap, we're now buying the 180 and selling the 185. So we have a long call spread instead of a short call spread there. And then just like a web browser, undo or redo, we'll go back to the different actions that you were taking. So you can view whether you were moving a strike around or whatever it might be. You can just quickly jump back and forth in terms of the frames that you were looking at, and clear will clear that off. But what I like about this too is as you're setting up trades, let's just say we're going to sell this 5-point wide put spread, we can see some relevant information without having to go ahead and click that review and send button. And down here at the bottom, we have a probability of profit, which is going to be the probability of your break even expiring out of the money for options that you're selling or spreads that you're selling. It's going to be the probability of your break even being in money at expiration for anything that you're buying. We have the extrinsic value here, so $114 in extrinsic value out of the money spread, same as the price. We have a P50 value, and this is kind of interesting. This is something that we do specifically here at Tastyworks, and this is a Monte Carlo simulation that just looks at, given a static implied volatility, and granted implied volatility will change, but given the static implied volatility right now, about 27%, we run a Monte Carlo simulation, and it effectively shows you through that random number generator how many of those different trades or those different prices reached a point equivalent to a value where you would close this position at 50% of the credit that you receive. So it's effectively a little way to see kind of a loose probability around the likelihood of getting to half of your potential profit, which is going to be greater than that probability of profit. So a couple different numbers that we look at more so for a gauge. Certainly they're not static. Markets are fluid. This is going to move around. They're going to change. But it helps us in determining where we might want to set up our strikes if we're selling options or if we're buying options. Additionally, we have the delta value of the spread. So we can see that this is a bullish trade. We want the price to go up. Right now, it's equivalent to being long about 12 shares of stock, so it has 12 deltas. We have the theta value on a per day basis. So if we sell this for $114 down here, right now, and granted it's not linear, but we've got $1.23 or almost $1.24 in theta decay between today at these prices and the end of the day tomorrow. And also then the max profit and the max loss of our trade. So difference between the width of the spread and the credit received, we've got a loss of 386, that's our risk, max potential profit of $114. So all that information is displayed. As we make adjustments to this, you'll see that that information changes or that data changes. So we widen the spread out. We're doing this for a better credit, $235, but you can see we have more risk. And so this allows you to, in combination with trying to find something that maybe has probabilities that fit your level of risk aversion or your setup and that risk-reward ratio, this allows you to kind of quickly see the details of the trade while you're setting the trade up, and it's going to be dynamic and adjust as you make changes here. One last thing I want to point out is at the top of the option chain, right now we're looking at the volume for each strike, and we're looking at the delta for each strike. But if you click on these two labels, you'll be able to open a menu, and this is going to show you some different data points that you can select to view. So maybe we want to see the probability of these options expiring out of the money. Click on that. We can see the 170 is at 66%, and the 162.5 is at 83%. Change volume to open interest or anything else. We get some details about those particular strikes. Additionally, we have a strategy menu at the top of the platform here. So this would be similar to if you were to right-click on any strike in Thinkorswim, for example. You would open up a strategy menu here. You click on this, it opens the menu. You'll see that you can toggle from short to long, from selling to buying, or vice versa. And you can toggle any of the puts to calls and vice versa. And then once you've done that, you can click go, and that'll set up the strategy. So we just changed that to a vertical call spread that we would be buying. So that's the table view. Before I move on to any of the other modes here, is there anything you'd like me to answer?
Yeah, a couple questions here, Ryan. One from John. He was asking about the back end of Tastyworks. Mainly, what's the chance that your servers get overwhelmed, trades don't occur, stability, that kind of thing?
So that's a great question. That's something that we've been very cognizant of throughout the last year as we've been getting started. Personally, I'll notice that, let's say you go back a couple of weeks, we had an environment where markets are selling off, ton of volume, ton of activity, and you can't log into your particular broker. So you need to take an action, and you're not even able to get in to do that. We haven't had any issues at all as we focused for about the last 6 months on just purely on stability. So while we haven't been able to launch as many of the cool features or the different things that people have requested, most of our core development team's focus has been on the back end, has been on the overall infrastructure, setting up a second data center essentially in New York or in New Jersey, and also working on our not only hardware but the software behind the scenes here in Chicago. So we are extremely fast. We like to think we're one of the fastest. We have the ability to really tune it up if we wanted to. As we get more people, we are 100% able to scale, and that's something that, like I said, we've been conscious of. So I would say, relative to anybody else, I don't have technical specifics off the top of my head, but we have not had any issues in terms of stability, in terms of people not being able to log in. When you see a market that starts to sell off, or you see a market that, all of a sudden everybody's participating.
Yeah, and I'll echo that too. I've had the same experience where, with other brokers, where there's technology glitches or, freezing up of the platforms. I mean, the Tastyworks platform, from my experience so far, has just been nothing but smooth sailing. I mean, it's fast, it's reliable. I haven't had any issues at all. So kudos to you guys on that.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that. That too might be a function of the fact that we don't have a ton of features. Some people will say, well, you don't have this, you don't have that. And at times that can, depending on the system that you're running the platform on, some of that stuff can really bog it down. So with the lack of things like fundamental analysis around particular companies or whatever, we're able to just really run a lightweight, very fast platform that allows you to trade options and set stuff up very quickly. And hopefully we see that stability continue going into the future. But it's certainly at the front of our minds. Stability and security are one of the things that we focused on for really, like I said, about the last 6 months or so.
And Ryan, another kind of tying into that, and I don't think that we have time to do a full demo on the other, but as far as the web version, and if somebody's trading from work, trying to get around the firewall and not being able to download software, that kind of thing, speak to that a little bit, and maybe a little bit about the difference between the desktop version versus the web version.
Yeah, well, I'll be upfront with everyone. We haven't given the web version nearly as much love as it deserves or as it needs at this point. So it's certainly not my first choice in a trading platform, though I understand most people have a job and most people work in an environment where there's a corporate firewall. You can't stream the data. You can't even download the platform in terms of the desktop. So they have to resort to the web. It's not going to be as fast for sure. It'll allow you to do everything that we show in here. It does present all of the same information. You'll be able to really see, for the most part, everything as it pertains to the option chains, as it pertains to your positions. The one thing where they're entirely different and really lacking in the web is that we just don't have a robust charting package at all. And I wouldn't say that we have the most robust charting in the desktop platform at this point, but the charts are very, very basic. There's no indicators or anything like that when you look at the web-based platform. So that's an area where it's really lacking, though it is the only resort if you have to get around a corporate firewall and you can't use the desktop platform. The web platform will get the job done, but it is going to be constrained by the fact that it's a web-based platform and doesn't really get to harness all of the processing power of a desktop, like a desktop platform would.
And one last tech question here. John's asking about, do you guys use your own hardware? Are you using AWS, Google, Azure, some other third party?
We use our own hardware, and then we also run microservices using AWS. So depending on what it is, specifically, it could be a microservice that could use AWS, or it would be, one of our numerous servers. But we have a data center here in Chicago. We have a data center in New York. So any of the actual, the trading activity would not occur on the cloud. That would occur via the servers. But there are some microservices and different things that we run, different processes that we need to have in place so that, at the end of the day, you have reconciliation that occurs, et cetera. Some of that stuff we do through AWS, but the majority of it is going to be on our own hardware.
Cool. All right, cool. Let's keep moving. Craig, I see your question there, and when Ryan gets to the active tab, we'll address that. So keep going, Ryan.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to jump over to the curve very quickly. Anything that you set up on the table, you're going to see on the curve as well. And now the curve is just a different way to view what you're doing. All of the information is exactly the same. This is something that we rolled out a few years ago with our web-based software. And the idea behind this was that this would be more of an educational tool. For anybody that's brand new to option trading, you can very quickly visualize how these strategies work. In terms of what you want the stock price to do relative to what you're setting up here, you can quickly see. Green is good, green is money. We want the stock price to move higher in this case and get into that green zone. And this is telling us that this is a bullish trade, which we know it is, as we're buying a call spread. If it goes lower, we know that it's not what we want to have happen because we want the stock price to go up. So this is something where you can really visualize your trades, and you can also see some information a little bit better around what market expectations are. So we have this distribution curve you'll see with the 28 days. This is showing us, given the current level of implied volatility, what are those 1 and 2 standard deviation moves? What are the probabilities that the price, if we use the current price as the mean, and with an implied volatility of, we'll call it 27% right now for that 28-day period, this is showing us then where the market expects the stock price to go. So we can see that right now there's a 68% chance or so, or the market's pricing in, I should say, a 68% likelihood that in the next 28 days, Apple will stay just above 160 and somewhere just below 190, we'll call it 187 or so. Certainly that can change, but if we have control over risk management to a degree at order entry, we have a control over the probabilities that we can put in our favor or not in our favor when we're setting up trades with options here, whether we're selling or buying. This helps us to kind of gauge, given how the market is pricing options, what are the chances that our call or our put or whatever it is that we're doing here, what are the chances that they're going to expire out of the money, in the money? What do we think the stock price is going to do over this period of time, and that period of time for this case being 28 days. So it allows you to kind of visualize the implied volatility instead of having to say, well, implied vol is 10%, the stock price is 100, so I know that 68% of the time, given a 10% implied vol, the market is pricing it to trade within a range of 110 or 90. Instead of having to think about that or do it, we just show you right here, coupled with the strategy that you're setting up, so you can see exactly how that strategy works. If we were to open up the strategy menu, change this to an iron condor instead, or if we were to go over to the table and click around, we would see that this is now a neutral strategy. So if I add that there, jump back to the curve, and we move these around here, it'll adjust and it'll show us what we want the stock price to do. And here we want the stock price to stay above the short put and below the short call. So this is the curve. It's not any different in terms of the information that's available or displayed, just in its presentation. I'll jump over to the active tab now, and I'm going to switch to a different symbol. So I'm going to set up, instead of the positions watch list, I'll drop down our Tasty Trade Futures, because we're primarily going to trade futures here on the active tab. And this is similar to a ladder. This is our first iteration of kind of an active trading platform within the Tastyworks software. It pertains, for the most part, to futures trading. We launched futures a few months back, but it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can't trade off of a chart just yet. You can see a chart for the symbol that you're working with, but it's not as robust, I'd say, as some of the charting in other platforms. So I know that anyone that's a chart trader, and a lot of people certainly are, this is not the best way to do it, but we are working on some improvements. But to give you an example of how this would work, you select the symbol. So here we've clicked on WTI, we've clicked on crude futures here. We've got CL slash CLJ8. We can see the bid, we can see the offer, and up here in parentheses, if I want to sell this, I'm going to click on the bid. And then from here, I can adjust that price. So as I drag this up or down, it's going to allow me to sell it at 61.36 or 61.44, whatever it might be. As I start to move this up here, it'll allow me to change that price. And I don't know why on this screen I'm on, for some reason I'm not clicking in the right area to focus this here. But normally I would be able to just drag this up or down, and same thing with anything that you're going to buy. So if we were to look and say maybe we want to buy very quickly, we want to set up something where we're going to buy an S&P future, we can then drag that, and there, this time I clicked on the right thing. We can drag this so that I can set this up at any price. Or if you have an idea of the price, you can simply just type it in up here or click on these buttons. So there's a few different ways to do the same thing. But what this does is just basically show you, where the current price is in a similar fashion to some ladders or some different trading domes that exist in other platforms. Shows you where your order is relative to that price. And then once you get filled, it'll show you your basis and that information that's relevant to the position over here. So you don't have to jump over to the positions tab. You can see this is going to cost me a little bit over $6,000 in buying power. 15 days left until we're going to roll this position to the next expiration. And then as we have this on, we'll see the P&L open, P&L day. As we add contracts or take contracts away, we'll see that overall delta position. And we'll see the notional tick value as well as the minimum tick size here too. So you get a sense very quickly if you're brand new to futures trading, maybe you don't know what the tick size is or what that notional dollar value is per tick for, say, corn futures. Well, when you click on corn futures, click on /ZC, it'll show you that information in here, and then also some information about the symbol itself. You can see that we were down about almost 35 points at the moment. So that's the extent of the active trader. There really is nothing else that it does at this time other than allow you to set up buys and sells with futures and then make adjustments from there.
And you can't do individual stocks or directional options on it either at this point, right?
You could. I don't believe that you can do individual options because I'd have to be able to, from here, pull in the Oprah code, and I don't think that we can do that. But you should be able to click on Apple, for example, and buy or sell. So if I click on, the bid here, I can decide to move Apple stock around and sell it at whatever price I want. So you could do that. We don't have level 2 quotes. That's a popular question I get. The reason for that is we don't, in terms of our existing customer base, we don't have a lot of equity traders. So it's just not something that we've paid to get the data for, but could be at some point in the future. At the moment, we don't have it. But you could, so to just take a step back, you can buy and sell both futures and individual stocks here.
And Ryan, one of the questions from Craig was, is there a way to set up a trailing stop or a stop loss on a buying a call or a put or a credit spread? And I'll give my 2 cents, and then I'll let you answer as well. Craig, my 2 cents is this: if you're buying an option like a put or a call, that's a defined risk trade, and so your max loss is defined anyway. So I don't know why you would use a stop in that case. And the same thing for a credit spread. Our philosophy at Navigation Trading is if you're putting on defined risk trade, that is kind of the amount of risk that you're willing to take on that trade. But Ryan, I'll let you jump in there and see if there's any other answer that you have in regards to the platform.
Well, you could certainly use those order types. We will not do that for spreads just because Tom and Scott's past experience with Thinkorswim, it can sometimes not be to the customer's benefit to use a stop on a spread. They can get filled at prices that are not to their benefit. So we don't do stops on spreads. But if you were to do an individual equity, a future, or just a single option, you can change that order type here, and you can use a stop market or a stop limit, and then you can move that stop price up or down as you see fit. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that we have some improvements coming. So if you start to trade futures through here, personally, I get a little frustrated with the process that you have to adhere to because you have to set some of these stops up. You'd have to set your stop up separately from the order that you might enter to take a profit. So that's kind of a pain. We also do not have conditional orders. That's something that we are actively in the process of adding, but that makes it really difficult to have a stop in place as well as an order to close out of your position, because if one or the other gets hit, it doesn't pull that second order off of or out of the book. And so that's where, at this point, it's kind of a problem. So we need to get that in there as soon as possible. We are working on that, but the conditional orders, the brackets, those don't, they're not available at this time.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So that's the table, the curve, and the active. And now let's cover the analysis or the analyze mode here. So you can do three things with the analyze mode. You can do some analysis around an existing position. You can do some analysis around a new potential position that you're going to open up. And you can also look at the impact that a new position would have on your existing position. So let's just take a look here, and what I'm going to talk about is going to apply to any of those three scenarios, but it's easiest to just look at something that we're thinking about setting up. So let's just say that we think, and this is kind of a hypothetical, this might be the way that I would approach it, or I see a lot of our customers approach it. And certainly people are going to do different things, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. But let's just say you want to get a sense of, I'm coming in, I'm going to sell a strangle on Apple. I think the implied volatility is relatively high. I think the option prices are expensive. I think that Apple's going to be range bound, and it's going to come down. Those option prices are going to come down a little bit in a couple of weeks. And I want to see what the theoretical P&L might be. Should I be correct in that assumption? So let's say that I open up the April expiration here, and I'm going to sell the, we'll say I'm going to sell the 185 call, and I'm also going to sell the 160 put. Now I don't have a position on in here, so as I add those strikes, as I add those options here, they start to pop up. If I had something on already, it would appear over here in our analysis section. This is the tab where you're going to have your controls. You can change the date that you're viewing the theoretical values for. You can change the price of the underlying. You can also adjust the volatility for that expiration period as well. So this is where you'll change that implied vol. But to view the analysis, you can't yet view it on the table. We have something that we're going to overlay on top of this. The way I like to think about it, though, is that it is just an overlay. We are on the trade page. So anything that you do, if you click review and send, that is going to route a live order. So keep that in mind. But where you can view the analysis controls are on the curve. So if I click on analysis, that'll open up some buttons at the top. Then I need to click on either curve, or on the right-hand side of the platform, click on View Analysis. Either one will do the same thing. When I do that, you can see that we've opened up, and see if I can widen this out just a little bit here. Now we've opened up our analysis view. We can zoom in a little bit to see it a little bit better. We can zoom out if that's the case, and we can also change the scale. From here, what we're looking at the moment is simply just the P&L at expiration. So this might be some place to start if you want to get a sense of, at expiration, what's my profit or loss going to be? It stays in the green zone, it's going to be $410. What's it going to be if we start to see this move higher? I'm getting shorter and shorter, it's moving against me. Okay, at about 200, I'm going to lose a little bit over $1,000 at expiration. So that's your at expiration. We can also turn on our theoretical value as well. And so let me talk a little bit about the theoretical value. What this is doing, and the only model that we're using at this time, I know in other platforms you can switch between the pricing model that you use. We'll add some additional ones. Right now we use the Black-Scholes model because we think it's pretty straightforward. And what this is doing is taking those inputs into the model, and those inputs you can change over here, such as your days to expiration. We know the strikes of the options already, but we can change the days to expiration, we can change the price of the underlying stock, we can change our volatility input. We're going to use the risk-free rate. You can't adjust that yet. But it's going to take all of those inputs, and it's going to spit out a theoretical value for each one of these options. It's not the value that is currently in the markets, but this is just given those inputs, theoretically, what's the price that we get from that model? And then using that price, we swap out the actual price in the market, where your mark is, and we use the theoretical value instead to then compare to your trade price, so you have a sense of using those theoreticals. What's the theoretical P&L given what I bought or sold, these options for my position? So that's why you'll notice right now, just given where the spreads are and what those theoreticals are, this is spitting out a theoretical P&L for March 1st of $42.52 in the red. But let's say that we want to make some adjustments to this, and our initial assumption was about volatility is going to come down, price is going to stay relatively, where it is right now, relative to where it is, but we're going to see time pass by a couple of weeks. If we go over here and we change this so that that's the case, we can open up a calendar, or we can simply just click on the left or right arrows to change the date. But as we do that and we say we're going to go out here a couple of weeks, let's just even go towards the end of March. And we're going to drop the volatility down by a couple points here. We'll click down. We'll drop it down by 3% or so from the 26 or 27% it was at to 23.5%. Now we can look at this and see, okay, even if the stock price starts to move around a little bit, theoretically, if those conditions exist by the end of March, another month or so here, we should see a good chunk of that potential profit. So one of the things that I think it allows people to do is start to get a sense of, if this is the style of trading that they're doing, when might they want to think about, or what would a target be in terms of looking at this and managing that trade at a profit. It'd also be able to see, where you would be in terms of this starts to get out of control. What are my losses, and then how do I have to manage this? So that's a very straightforward way. This is the first iteration of the analyze mode, but it allows you to see, given different inputs, given different market conditions, and the Black-Scholes model here, what are my theoretical P&Ls when I do that? A couple other things that you can throw on here that I think are interesting. Both the analysis curve, so this is the distribution curve that's going to be a function of our implied volatility input on this effective date, so on 3/28. So even if we wanted to go back to March 1st and just either jack up or turn down the volatility, we can get a sense of what that new one standard deviation move looks like, what those new probabilities look like as we see volatility either move up or move down. We can also compare that then against the current default for our overall expiration. And so we can make some adjustments to that to get a sense of just what this might look like as the market changes. Anything that you click on at the top, you can just click on a second time to remove it. So let's say that we remove that, we've looked at it, we think it's interesting, but we also maybe want to do some analysis around, if this gets out of control, this particular strangle with these naked options, when might I need to do something given a delta value that's either too high relative to what I want it to be, or too low. And so if I open up the Greek menu here, right now we're not showing any of the Greek values, but we can see how our deltas would change theoretically based on the pricing model. What would the deltas be should these conditions exist on 3/28, but the stock price is down here at, say, 160? Well, we're going to be long about 47 deltas compared to short, say, 10 deltas right now, 11 deltas that we can see down here. So this can also give you a sense of when maybe you might need to step in, and if you want to, start to flatten out or balance out those deltas, again, based on the Black-Scholes model and theoretically where we might be at.
And Ryan, are those deltas specific to that symbol that you're looking at, or are those beta weighted to SPY as well?
They are specific to Apple in this case. What we don't have available yet, and we're working on, is the ability to view changes in the market relative to your entire portfolio. So taking that beta weighted portfolio and simulating higher implied volatility, the passage of time, etc., seeing what those beta weighted deltas might be, and as a result also seeing what that portfolio P&L might be.
Got it. Great.
So looking at this, this is the first iteration of our analyze mode. There's not really much else that it does, aside from you can turn some of these things on or off. You can see that there's a lot going on here. By default, we don't show you all of that at once, but you can view those, the changes in the Greeks. You can view your P&L zones, either the theoretical zones or the at expiration. You can turn quotes on or off, so you can see the bid and the ask at those various strikes. You can also set up new trades, and anything that you do on the table or the curve, you can then analyze just by clicking on analysis. And if you wanted to analyze just one option, or you had a position and you wanted to look at different expirations, whatever it might be, you can click on these boxes over here on the right. So now we're only looking at the short put. We've removed that short call. So if you have a bunch of different things going on here and you're thinking about putting on new positions, but you can't decide what strike looks best, what makes the most sense for me, you can either include or exclude those from your analysis.
Excellent. That's great stuff, Ryan. Any other questions from the navigation trading community? And Ryan, I don't want to cut you off if you were going somewhere else next.
No, that's really kind of the overview of, I think, the pages in the platform that people spend the most time on. I do get questions about, do you guys have charts? Do you have indicators? So if that's not anything that Tom covered, over here on the left-hand side, if you hold your cursor over it, you'll see that we have a couple different pages. We've got watch lists, have the ability to create watch lists and filter those watch lists. You can sort them. There's no way to screen a universe of stocks for specific conditions currently, but that's something we're working on. So you have a watch list. Tasty Trade is just looks like our website. You can watch some Tasty Trade content. The charts, though, can be accessed by clicking on chart. These aren't as robust as they eventually will be. It's a pretty basic implementation of a charting package from our quote provider, which is DevExperts. You can add some indicators. Just click on indicators. There's a handful of different technical indicators that might be popular with traders. We have the ability to customize the colors, the view, the time frame, as well as the number of bars or the type of bars that you're using. So right now we're looking at a 1 year daily. If we wanted to look at a 1 day, 1 minute, that's the fastest chart we could view. You can change it from candlestick to bar to line or area graph, and then there's just a handful of settings and different tools such as trend lines, or you can draw fibs or support resistance zones, that kind of thing. So very basic charts right now. We don't have a scripting language or anything, but we do have that built on the back end. We just haven't implemented it through any type of easy to use interface. And then, like in most other platforms, we've got our history, so we can see what we've done in terms of P&L year to date. You can look at our transactional history. We've got our activity tab. But for today's webinar, I think the areas of focus and where we spend most of our time, positions and trade, and that new analysis tab.
So going back to your comment on the custom indicators, releasing that script, you mentioned that's coming. One of the things that we use a lot in our training is an indicator that we put below our charts that shows both the IV rank as well as the IV percentile.
Okay.
Now, I know up in the upper left, they're kind of near the symbol. You already have the IV rank displayed. Is there any in the future? Are you looking to also display IV percentile, or what are your thoughts there?
Yes, 100%. So we have some work that we need to do that we just haven't gotten to yet, in terms of allowing everybody to change the time frame for the ranks, to change the time frame for percentiles, and obviously add percentiles, and also view that indicator on the charts that you guys are looking at as well. Many people like that. It's very helpful. But instead of saying, you've got to copy that script, add that script, and go through that manual process, what we'd like to do is just let you click a button and it's right there. You can tweak the parameters, but just click the button and then go to the setup. So it's not as as difficult to get some of those things in there. We want to take a lot of those indicators that we know are popular and just allow people to click on the button to add them.
And then Ryan, so we got a question from John about downloading and trying with a simulated account. I know you guys are coming out with kind of a paper trading account here before long. Right now, if they download the software, which I put up a button there, so if you want to go open an account, download the software, you can. What is the functionality restriction before you fund the account, if any? Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, sure. So if you set up a username and password, start the account opening process, as long as you're registered in our system with that username, email address, and the password that you've created, you'll be able to download the platform. You don't have to fund the account. You'll be able to get familiar with all the different tabs. You'll be able to use all these features in terms of doing some analysis around potential trades, looking at certain things on the trade page. I believe it's either a 10 or 20-day period. I want to say it's around 20-day period where if you don't fund the account with a minimum of $2,000, we turn the live quotes off. And the only reason for that is just that we get charged and it becomes expensive across all the different accounts on a monthly basis. So we get charged if we provide live quotes. So we don't charge customers whatsoever for anything when they're trading. If you fund the account with $2,000, you keep those live quotes going. But if it's an unfunded account, we turn the live quotes off. You'd still have access to the platform though, so you can get familiar with it, you can use the features. The one thing that you won't be able to do, the only limitation aside from the delayed quotes, is that you can't actually place demo trades or paper money trades and then view the life of those trades in the positions page. So we don't have demo trading. That is coming hopefully by the end of the year, and for obvious reasons, we're about a year out, and we had to make sure that we had everything kind of tightened down, locked down with real money trading, and then we'll be able to kind of offer that simulator. So it's not that it's extremely difficult for us to do, but we do have to partition the servers in a specific way so that no demo trades, or there's no way that you can add $20 million to your account and fire off some demo trades that somehow make it into the market and we're responsible for. So there's a little bit of work that we have to do, but it is coming soon. But in terms of limitations, that's the only one. You can't actually monitor a pretend or paper money portfolio. You can use everything else in the platform now.
Great. Ken is asking about the access to more Tastyworks trainings. Ken, you can go to Navigation Trading's YouTube channel. We've got our previous web class with Tom Sosnoff. This web class will be recorded and we'll shoot it out to you tomorrow morning. And then other trainings, Ryan, I'll let you direct them to where they can find that.
Yeah,
Trade.
If you get started and you have a question about anything at all, you can get live in-person support. If you call our trade desk, we have a staff of 20 people or so that can teach you how to use the platform, show you where to go. That's one way to go about it. We also have a very, very extensive help section here. And so if you click on this will open up our help center within the platform. And you can see that as we scroll down, we've got a few different sections that you can go into. Some of them have a little bit more content than others. The platforms and software section has 54 different articles. Each one of these articles, for the most part, has a video. So if you have a question about doing a specific thing on the trade page, there's a video for that. I've done most of the videos. So if you're sick of my voice by now, maybe you just want to read the text, you don't have to watch the videos. But we have very extensive support, help articles, very well thought out with a lot of different pictures. And I think for the most part, if you have something specific you're looking for, just type the search term in here at the top and you will find the relevant article. And if you don't understand what to do or you still have questions after that, you can either reach out to us via phone, chat, or email. And that's just support@tastyworks.com.
Cool. And then lastly, John's got one parting question, and I'll give my 2 cents and then let you touch on it if you want, Ryan. But he's asking, it's like he currently uses TOS and wants to know why, what your pitch would be on why Tastyworks is better. My personal opinion is TOS is a great platform. I still use it today. I would say once Tastyworks starts offering options on futures, because I trade a lot of options on futures, I will most likely make the switch 100%. Right now I trade on both. So Ryan, it's kind of like commenting on your ex-girlfriend. I don't know if you want to comment on that or not, but I'll let you decide.
Yeah, and I can pretty much echo what you just said. TOS is a fantastic platform. It has a lot of features. I still use it, and I do trade a lot of options on futures as well. So I have money with Tastyworks. I certainly work for Tastyworks and Tastytrade. Trade on both platforms each day. Can't wait for us to get options on futures with Tastyworks. That's one of the reasons why I still have some capital over there. But I think, and not to downplay Tastyworks here, but TOS at the moment does have more robust charts. So if you're a chart trader or you like a lot of different indicators that might not be in the Tastyworks platform, that might be one area where the TOS is better. And I would say, counter to that, Tastytrade, depending on your style of trading, Tastyworks, depending on your style of trading, has a very nice commission structure, and I'm sure you've touched on that. But if you're trading larger size, we cap the commissions to a degree depending on how many legs make up the trade. It's $1 to open a trade, and it's $1 to open a contract. It's free to close, but we cap each leg at $10. So if you did 1,000 contracts, you would only pay $10. If you did 1,000 vertical spreads, you would only pay $20. So the most that you would ever pay on a trade is $40. And like I said, we only charge on the opening transaction, whether it's options, it's equities, or it's futures, and ultimately, or it's options on futures. We only charge to open. There's no closing charge. So it makes it a little bit cheaper depending on what you're doing. So I'd say that's the benefit with Tastyworks. It's also very fast. And what I like about the Tastyworks platform, some of the things that I've showed you, just how easy it is to click, set up the trade. And once you get used to that, I find that many times now that I'm used to that, I'm used to the way that the information is displayed in Tastyworks. I do struggle a little bit and find that it's a little bit clunkier navigating some of the other platforms that are out there. So I think two different platforms, two different maybe types of customer. And I know recently it feels like Thinkorswim and TD Ameritrade have started to go in some different directions than maybe the direction we're going in. But I'll say if you are an options trader, you're looking for a lightweight platform that's very fast, makes it easy to do some of the very basic things that I think a lot of traders are just looking to do. This is a great place to be.
Yeah, and I'll say this as a customer. I think you're downplaying the commission thing a little bit, Ryan, because that is so huge. I mean, the amount of commission that you pay at one broker, versus Tastywork is such a huge deal. And in fact, for anybody who hasn't seen it, even as free members, there's no cost for this or anything. But if you log into your members area at Navigation Trading, we have a sheet that allows you to compare broker commissions. So if you're trading on one broker, you can input any fees or costs or commissions associated with that broker. You can put a side-by-side comparison of Tastyworks or anybody you want, and give you an idea of how much commission you're going to spend over the course of a year. I did this personally with, TOS versus Tastyworks and other brokers. And it literally can reduce your commissions by 70, 80% over the course of a year. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that obviously has a big impact on your P&L. And maybe Tom touched on this a little bit, but that's our goal here, is to make trading accessible, give everybody the tools and the technology they need, but also not make it prohibitive in terms of cost. So we're trying to put some pressure on the industry. We're trying to go in different directions, and we can still make money while making it a lot cheaper for everybody else to trade. And I think ultimately over the long run, you're already starting to see it in equities with firms like Robinhood. I think you're just going to see continued pressure on costs, and it wouldn't be surprising at all to me at some point if we see that it's free to trade in terms of commissions.
Excellent, Ryan. Well, hey, we really appreciate your time today. It's been awesome hearing your knowledge about the platform. I know you probably know it better than anyone else over there, so loved having you on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, we'll let you go.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and you guys take care.
All right, guys. Everybody have a good one. Talk to you soon.